This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast. This is Reno, the producer, and this is the 8th of 8 podcast episodes recorded in 2017. I kind of miscounted there. Anyways, they're recorded in 2017 after implementing Lean on a project. You will hear the voices of Jake Smalley and Jason Schroeder as they reflect on the successes and failures of their experiment. Enjoy.
Okay, this is Jake and Jason here for podcast number 8.
Wow.
And we've done 8 of these? Yeah, but it's in my brain. This is the last one, but this one should be the most interesting, so try not to have any more beard oil jokes. Deal? Okay. All right, so we'll just keep going. So
Hawaii brought it up.
yeah, there's also beard balm. Oh gosh. So this podcast is about company. Gosh, what did we name it? But anyway, this is just some repeatable success, job site culture, teaming type fluffy things. I don't even know what we're gonna name it really, but we'll call it the secret sauce. And I'm sure every job site has it. But hey, you can't end podcasts on an odd number like 7. So hey, there you go. This is podcast number 8. So I'm gonna go through these, Jake. Try and insert something interesting as we go. So the first one is, when you're building your team, we have to understand the customer's needs first. So every meeting we held, every time we visit with customers, all the time in the morning huddles, every time we talked about what are we doing here on the job site, and we would have people repeat them. What are the 5 things? They want a perfectly clean job. They want it safe. They want to rip out anything that isn't quality from the start, be a good neighbor, and waterproofing. Those were our 5 things that the owner really cared about. And we just focused on that over and over and over, and it led into everything we did. Go ahead.
So, but you won't find out if you don't ask, right?
Oh yeah, from the owner, exactly.
So why don't you talk about a little bit about how you that was out?
That was difficult because
Secret.
So they thought I was full of poo.
Jedi.
No. So Ryan was really good at it, and and Shelby and Derek had something called flight planning, where we did the teaming meetings where we had some goals, but quite frankly, it took walking the director of construction, our project manager, and sometimes having some awkward conversations where they would say, "Why are you asking? This sounds really weird." But we would say, no. We want to know what important things. So we reviewed the proposal, because that comes into it. We reviewed our agreement, our contract. We reviewed the stuff that came out of our teaming from flight planning. And then we just asked questions. What is important to you? And here's a good example. And you back me up on this one. Mike Seal said, "I do inspections overhead. I trip all the time. I've hurt myself. I want these floors spotless."
Oh,
and go ahead.
So
We did it.
we did it. Mike Seal's awesome. He mentioned his aims. You did.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. That's fine then.
So anyway, great building inspector. We were able to build a great relationship, but I feel one of the reasons we were able to build such a great relationship is because we took that to heart, and it was so freaking clean. And although it helped the entire project being super clean, that were one of his hot buttons. And there was a few other ones that he had, and we learned and we figured out along the way. But that was a big one that he brought up at the very beginning. Very first. I'm always doing these overheads. I trip, I fall, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they never get listened to. So listening to them is a big deal. So I would say the secret sauce to good teaming is understand the customer's needs first. The second one is understand what will the team do to improve humanity. And we do. What? Well, what did I say wrong?
No, you're spot on. But I just thought of not an analogy, but so I'm a big dude, and I like my Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Oh my gosh, they're gonna be there. The best thing is when we like, so I've got a bunch of kids and we go, and I'm always ordering, like, whenever we go out, ordering a Coke, whenever we go out to dinner, like, whatever, usually if we go to Chick-fil-A or whatever, and we go in, and it's stressful for me just to have all the kids right up front. Like, so they'll usually go in and they'll go play in the play place, and I'll ask them before, like, hey, what do you want? So I've got this huge order that I got 5 kids, so not as many as Jason, but I've got 5 kids, and so it's a big order when we go in. And so I go in there and I go up, and then the lady's like, how can I help you, sir? What would you like? And I start saying, well, I want this. You know, and I just start rambling what the kids had told me. And then I get to like Adele and my wife, and I'm like, well, and then I think she wants this Diet Coke, and then I'd like this Diet Coke. And then like these young kids these days, not that I'm very old, but you know, you've got like an 18-year-old, and I don't know if they're distracted on their phone or they're just, I don't know what is going on in their mind, but that they're sitting there and we're going through all these scenes, and they're like, oh, what you want? She goes, okay, let me read this back to you. And she reads it back to me, and it's nothing like, okay, she got like down. So what she gets is the gist, most of it. And that's not what the owners were expecting here. We asked, and we gave them exactly what they wanted.
Well, just a bad shout out to Jack in the Box. They'll be like, hey, what do you want? I'll get done with like a 10-minute speech, and then they're like, oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Can you repeat that? And I literally want to reach through and like grab them by the neck and strangle somebody. And that's how owners feel, to your point, if we don't listen to her.
Yeah. Anyway,
that took forever to tell that story. Like, you fell asleep because you interjected. No, yeah.
Everyone's going to come up and be like, podcast number 8, Jake really should have shortened that. Gosh. Anyway. Where was I? So, all right. So the next thing is, what will the team do to improve humanity? And I got to give you a shout out, Jake. Like, your vision with how to take care of the craftspeople with the bathrooms, the lunchrooms, how to create the culture was just wonderful. So we just feel like teams feel more connected to their daily work if it's tied to a higher mission, So when we're improving the lives of workers, when we're providing a better standard of living, when we're providing training, when we're doing something meaningful, it just makes a big difference. And so we're not here producing things in a manufacturing plant. We're here to change the world. And so we have to find out what that is. The other thing, this goes back to derail. Go ahead.
so talking about the workers, I'm not going to go off on.
John, that's fine. I'll go ahead and I'll take a nap real quick.
All right. So take a nap, and then we talk for a minute. So one of the other things is we just talked about taking what the owner says literally. One of the other things that we had huge success is we asked the craft about what they wanted and what they expected from us. And a lot of it was they wanted to be communicated, like I talked about in the last segment. So they asked for that. We made at the barbecues, we would make, I'd come up with these sheets that asked them all questions, and Jason would help, and we'd go through and we'd say, like, what can we do better? What do you want for the next barbecue? Most of the time on the barbecue, just FYI, everyone would write like beer, but we never did that. But asking them their opinion was huge, and we couldn't do everything. I couldn't give them beer, and I couldn't, and some of the other things they asked for. But for the most part, if we could make it happen, we did,
and they felt listened to. Like, I totally agree. The other thing with derailment is that once a team begins to get demoralized, it's a slippery slope. We have to make sure that we have little wins here and there. So instead of focusing on things that cannot control, like how much it's designed, whether or not it's delayed, whether or not you have a good workforce, blah, blah. There are things you can't control.
You couldn't control Gordon's basement flooding.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be funny if you listened to this.
Dang it. You're going to get me fired. Anyway, so there are things that you can control. You can control organization. You can control cleanliness. You can control transparency. You can control nimbleness. You can control safety. And so there has to be like a rally cry or a call to action on site for something that the job site can control and can have wins with. Well, that's a horrible sentence, but if you set up goals on the job where people feel like they have wins, then you're going to keep morale up. If everybody if we said at BSRL, no design changes, no change orders, we would have gotten so demoralized, we would have never picked our heads back up. We can't control that. So we focused on the things that we could. We made them goals. We had a saying at BSRO, which we already talked about, which is clean and steady. And we rewarded and celebrated wins when we were able to accomplish those things, which kept our heads up, kept us in a positive mood, made us feel like we were winning, and everything else was managed. The things that we couldn't control, we had managed from a financial and from a risk standpoint, but we adapt, we're nimble, and then we try and create consistency with the things that we can control. Is that a good point, Jake? Yeah, I like that. So continuing to go through here, I've talked about this before, but for team building, read Patrick Lencioni's book about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. You have to build trust. You have to make sure you're having healthy conflict. You have to make sure that there's commitment and that everyone holds each other accountable, and then you perform. And let me just go through this. If you don't have results, it's probably because people aren't holding each other accountable. And if people aren't holding each other accountable, it's because they're not committed together as a group around the way things are being done. And the reason that they're not committed or rallied around a goal as a group is because they can't have healthy conflict. They can't disagree, agree, argue, debate. They cannot get centered around a goal. And if people on the team are not saying, "Hey, Jake, I disagree with you. We need to talk about this," or whatever, then they don't trust each other. If I'm not willing to disagree with you, Jake, I do not trust you. So I would say another bit of the secret sauce is that finding that balance of implementing Patrick Lencioni's little map for a team is just really a good thing. The other thing is that every person on our team, we do what's called widening the circle. Emails are transparent. Messages are transparent. Phone calls are transparent. We don't go behind closed doors to make phone calls unless it's just absolutely necessary. If we have a problem, we don't try and figure it out before we widen the circle. We say, "All right, this is a big deal. Let's circle the team in. Let's get another set of eyes on this." If an air handler went down, we didn't just go out there by ourselves. We would send a text to the team. We would be transparent and notify everybody and widen our circle with everything. We never kept something to ourselves.
Wasn't that one of the things the owners wanted? Because I remember one of the things that I was impressed with that we all did was we communicated to the U of A PF, like
Everything.
air.
Yeah, so my on-block, I don't know. I personally think that, so I learned it from Ryan. When he first got to the job, he said, "Let's copy each other on all emails." And then we would stop copying everybody, on everything, because then we would just, want to shoot ourselves because we have so many emails. But we started out copying each other on everything. And I remember he would call Derek for anything that had to do with risk, he would call him. And that was a cultural shift for me from where I used to work, because it was like, oh my gosh, nobody here is worried about looking bad. They just widen their circle to help the problem become the team's problem and not the problem of the individual.
Exactly.
It was wonderful. And so we advocate transparency almost to a fault. I'm not talking about getting trashy transparent in front of an owner, getting us in trouble, putting us at risk. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a good book also by Patrick Lencioni, which again, do not Google this ever in a team meeting. The book is called Getting Naked. It talks about how transparency with your customers, with your team, is just the absolute best business model. You know what? No, I do not. Bottom line, do not Google that in a team meeting ever. Just take a picture of the book cover if you want to show people. Anyway, the other thing, so I talked about the emails. The other one is having an open office. The open office is a key. Doors and secrets breed distrust, contention, suspicion, people telling themselves stories in their own heads. It destroys trust. It's just horrible. If I had to be in an office where there were walls, I would take every door off of except for the bathroom, but I would take all the doors off. If I could, I'd demolish all the walls. When you're in an open office, it's a little bit noisier. It's a little bit chaotic. Some people don't like it when I play Coldplay. Or actually, they don't. All of them don't like it. But anyway,
No,
but you hear.
I know. I'm going to inject just for a second. So this is very important we're talking about. And the fact of it is that Jason played the same Coldplay songs for 2 years straight. So we were good for about the first week. But after that,
Well,
he's right.
I can't control if people have a poor taste of music. It's whatever. You know what? So, bottom line is open office. You all hear each other's conversations. There's nothing that's hidden behind closed doors. Everybody knows what's going on. You can collaborate. It's absolutely wonderful. This is a hard one, and we are by no means any authority to talk about this or to set company culture or rules or anything like that. But we didn't really have bosses on this job site. We never played boss. We don't have bosses here. If somebody called and said, "Can I talk to your boss?" I'd be like, "Well, you can talk to one of my team players because we don't really have bosses and we don't treat people like that."
Jake, you want to be my boss?
You want to be my yeah?
I need someone to talk to this guy who wants to talk to him all. No? Okay.
So the bottom line was the right person to make the decision made the decision. Some people get paid more to make more complex decisions. That's fine. We have different roles, obviously. But we never treated each other like bosses. If somebody wanted to do something that took an interest, it was a part of the team. If we needed something done, we would ask, "Hey, are you open to doing this?" So if people feel at work like they have a boss and like they're already always being looked down on and feel like they're not like owning their own section of the work like their own business, then it can be super demoralizing. It's kind of, I feel, anti-cultural. So that was a big thing for us. The other thing is everybody did everything. There's a book by Patrick Mancioli called the Ideal Team Player.
Do you want to marry?
No, I just why reinvent the wheel, man? Dude, you gotta let go.
What?
You gotta let go. Okay. So the Ideal Team Player, it talks about how good employees are hungry, humble, and smart. Hungry means that obviously, you're in it to win it, right? Smart means you're smart with your business and people. Humble doesn't mean what you think it means. I mean, it doesn't mean that you act humble, because I don't act humble. I just kind of have like a sense of humor about me that doesn't do that. But I feel like I'm humble in the sense that there's nothing I won't do as long as it's legal and moral, meaning I'll clean the bathrooms. I will go unplug a toilet on the job site because I am not too good to unplug a toilet. We did that a lot. So when you're talking about a good team, everybody all in, willing to do anything. We clean bathrooms. The superintendent does paperwork. The PM goes outside and directs field stuff when he needs to. We can all do anything. We do. We are able to flex when needed. If the PM's gone in an OAC, I run the OAC. When I'm gone, they go out and give the morning huddle. And then we all are just all in and willing to do everything. It was just a really good thing. And none of us were really worried about competition on the job. We all stated what our goals were. And quite frankly, some of them were, but a person wanted to flex into a PX role, or somebody wanted to go and be a PM. Or somebody wanted to take over as a field lead as the project superintendent, or somebody else wanted to get exposure to doing change orders. We would talk about it all the time without fearing that somebody else was going to get upset or feel competitive, and we all worked to accomplish each other's goals. Did you feel like that worked? Yeah, I think that was great. I mean, we didn't blame, we didn't silo, we didn't separate. When things got tough, we encouraged individuals to work it out. And when something went wrong, we said, it'll be all right. We'll all work it out together and we'll still accomplish our career goals. So our culture was based on being all in, transparent, and willing to do anything and willing to help each other with our careers. We already talked about mini marches, meaning that we only marched a short distance at a time and we burned our ships. I won't cover that too much. One thing that was neat is team size of 9. I've read so many books that talks about how if you get over 9, anywhere from 9 to 12, you want to stay at around 9 or below. But if you get over 12 people on a team, dysfunction is just rampant. So if you have a $350 million job, $300 million job, you want to break that down into 3 $100 million jobs or four, I don't math, but like 3 or 4 or 4 $50-60 million jobs. You want to break the teams down into sizes where they can connect, feel connected, and own geographically certain spaces. And so that's tough. That's easier said than done. But on like a big job, let's say you had a big high-rise tower, which we have some. Let's say some people are in charge of the lower floors, some people are in charge of the exterior, some people are in charge of mechanical, some people are in charge of the patient towers. What you want to do is break those up into teams. I'm not saying disconnected teams, but you want to break those up into teams with the proper roles and oversight, and also the proper geographical oversight. So like, let's say that the podium people on the lower floors, they would take care of the loading dock. That's it. See you, Matt. Man, this is a thoroughfare in here. Anyway, let's say the mechanical space, they take care of the entryway. Let's say that the tower, they take care of all the stair towers, temporary elevators, trash chutes, things like that. You want to break up the job into team units of 9. And that's not doctrine. Nobody has to do that. Nobody give me calls saying they hate me, but that seems to be a really good method to keep the team size to where you can have that connectedness, that chemistry, that balance, and make sure that people are in their proper roles. So really like that. The other thing is team audits. We checked everything. We asked how each other was doing. We took surveys to ask questions about team health. We asked how each other were doing all the time. We asked about home life. We asked about, does somebody need time off? We asked, do you need to work from home today? We just over and over and over and over and over worked as a team to make sure that we were acting successfully and that people had a balanced life and they had a good blend of work and life. But we talked about, we had balanced schedules. The other thing that we did is we used our unique talents to complement each other. I realized early on that I really liked the teaming stuff. Jake is really good at connecting with people. So Jake took the opportunity to really connect with some of the U of A folks and some of the inspectors. I would take, hey, I'm going to do some of these teaming exercises. I mean, Jake did it too. You know, there were other people on the team that were like super good with finances and with processes. We would have they would volunteer to focus on certain aspects. We had one person on a job that was super creative, was really good at problem solving and really good at graphics and stuff. So, I mean, we all found out what we were good at, and we leveraged our unique talents that complemented each other. Another thing is we were flexible we were basically a flexible and a nimble team. I hear a lot of people say, if we do this, we have to do it the whole job. If we do this, we have to be consistent. If we start this way, we have to end this way. I hate when people talk like that. A lean culture takes a long time to decide certain things, but then they implement quickly. And we did that on this job. We flexed a lot, do we not, Jake? So what I'm talking about is like...
So we kept it fluid.
It was fluid, yeah. We were nimble.
We were nimble, meaning we had our goals, but there was time where it would modify itself into something better. It'd morph into, it go from 5 Power Rangers to like the Megazord, whatever you call it. I don't know, kids are, I don't know. My kids are watching that, right? You have like 5 Power Rangers and they have all these like, all 5 of them have a robot, and they kind of like Transformers, but all five robots make one big mega.
Yeah, I like, but anyway, okay, Megazord.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was called. They call it a Megazord. But anyway, that's what we had to do. Not necessarily a Megazord, but we had to take our stuff that we had and take the suggestions we would get and always improving.
Yeah, I like that. So, and quite frankly, on this job, I mean, some of our critical success factors, and again, I hope I don't get fired for this, but they had to go out the window. Like the owner was just not going to let us close the job within 30 days. The owner was just never going to let us get 0 defects. They said, by the time we reached substantial completion, still 35% of the whole job was like in change order mode. And they wanted us to be flexible. So we have been nimble, and we focused on what we could do to make it work and adapt to the customer. Anyway, it was just really, we prided ourselves on adapting and being able to change very quickly to meet the needs of the customer. We always had plan A, B, C, and D, but we never got derailed because we always had that balance. If we needed another person on the team, we got one. If we needed V-Construct to help, we got one. If we needed more time on the schedule, we asked for it. Constant tracking, flexibility, transparency, and knowing what would take us off balance and how to prevent that always kept us healthy. Anything you want to say about that? So really feel like that was good. And we always just found a way to make things work within the constraints that we had. Another part of the reason the team never got in balance is because we set as many things on autopilot as we possibly could. For instance, cleanliness, autopilot, safety, zero tolerance, set that on autopilot. We cannot be out there reminding somebody 50 times to please wear their safety glasses. Zero tolerance, autopilot. The supervision of trades. We need your foremen out in the field. We need them trained. We need them ordered. We need them oriented to know what the job site rules are so that they're consistent. Autopilot. Anything that we could do to put something on autopilot, obviously under supervision, we did. What that means is it doesn't need constant supervision for it to be done right. So I liken it to a bunch of toy soldiers. The one-piece flow or the waterfall schedule or the tack plan, whatever you want to call it, you just wind that up like a little toy soldier and you just set it in motion. With your zero tolerance policy, you teach everybody, you set up the rules, you just wind up that toy soldier, and now you're able to focus on really good JHAs, really high-risk safety areas, constant monitoring. You set that toy soldier going. You set up the rule, if something's wrong, you rip it out. You wind up that toy soldier, set it going. Anything that we could set on its own path, we did so that we wouldn't get out of balance. And then I tell people, a lot of what we do is if we see one of our little toy soldiers going along, tips over, we set it back up and we get it going again. But if we literally have to do everything for everybody, for every contractor, monitor everything all the time, we are not being successful. So I'd say our ability to put as many things on autopilot as possible has been a huge part of our success. So we're kind of at the end. I'll go through, this is just a quick list of some other things that our team thought really helped our team. One was setting standards early. We held the team standards and did not waver. One person wrote down hugs. I do think that was a big one. You got to be careful with that. I don't know, but you really got to be careful knowing that the person you're giving a hug to really wanted it. We cooked breakfast or lunches periodically. We had a cohesive work team. The team was always open to new ideas. We didn't shut it down and say, no, that wouldn't work. But we never did that. We always focused on having fun. We planned for turbulence, meaning we knew we were going to get into arguments. We knew we would get crossways with the owner at one time or another, so we planned for it. Somebody wrote down transparency, being okay with difficult conversations, being goal and solution oriented, reducing politics, making sure our team is always approachable by trade partners, by the owner, whoever, building trust at all stages, not afraid to make mistakes. Each person has a mentor. Focus on client satisfaction throughout the job. They wrote make it fun. I guess the fun was really a big thing. Everyone took ownership. Have activities outside of work. And then here was one that Jake mentioned appropriately, so that you can't do it at SSG all the time, is opportunity to handpick staff based on personalities. Anyway, those were just some things that we did from a cultural standpoint that really worked for us. And it's just been absolutely wonderful. So Jake, do you have any?
So this was your last podcast?
It's kind of sad.
Wow. So I won't say any more, but this, some of these things, people might think it's lovey-dovey. It's how we are successful on this job. So take it with a grain of salt. I think Jason and I both were really clear on, and Jake, the other Jake, when he had everyone been, and everybody else, but very clear on, this won't work for everybody, but it worked for us. So hopefully you can glean some of the things and incorporate in the projects that you guys are on or beginning for the future. So that would be my hope. And I would just, my big thing is, and Jason touched on me a little bit, but you've got to love the craft. If out of everything that I've ever talked about in this deal, is it's about loving the craft and realizing that The only reason any of us in management have this job is because of those guys.
Very cool.
Those people. So
I like that. And, there were some guys from Penn State, super top-notch, super smart guys that came out here and stole everything that we've done on this job, we stole from somebody. And they came and stole some of our ideas, specifically, like one was room kitting, where like out there at Penn State, they actually had everything brought in per room in blue boxes. And it was like, this is the electrical that goes in the room. There's your sheet, install it. I just last week proposed on another project down here in Tucson using that as an example. So basically, they steal from us, I steal back. Basically, we're just always improving. And it's amazing what we can do if we learn from each other and we don't say, oh, I don't want to listen to these goofballs. They don't have anything to teach me. That's not what it's all about. It's about, in my mind, stealing each other's ideas or taking each other's ideas, improving on it, and just ever forward. I just love that. So I got two things. I'll read one thing that our electrician wrote to us after we were done as a thank you letter. He said, "We've learned a lot from you in this project that we will carry on through the years in other projects. The lean concept, while hard to embrace at first glance," that's back to your point, "truly made this project unique. You forced us to see how we could do things better, kept the job site super clean, safe, and organized, and made those not cutting the grade accountable. I would urge you to continue running your future projects with your blueprint for change in the construction industry, and hopefully it will catch on with other contractors. Our employees appreciated working in a clean, safe, and organized environment. We, Wilson Electric," no, I wasn't supposed to say it. Anyway, "we also appreciated trade partner approach to projects as compared to the old school GC philosophy of everyone is on their own. Once you get everyone to truly buy in on this concept, it really makes for a better product for the owner and less stressful environment for all the subcontractors and vendors." And so they said, "We are indeed very proud of being selected to be a part of this project. And guess what? I think we may have just had a little bit of fun in the last three years after all." So I just thought that was super important. What we do makes a difference. I'm gone from my wife and 10 kids, 10.5 kids now, for a lot of hours in the week. And it's fun to say that we made a difference. And really all it comes down to is when you say, "This has bothered me on the last project, I want to do it differently." And then you think to yourself, well, can I do it? To ask yourself the question, why not? And who's going to stop me? Like when we said we're going to do room kitting, when we're going to do perfectly clean, when we're going to rip out work, when we're going to do this crazy morning huddle thing, why not? Who's going to? We're the masters of our own destiny. And the last thing that I would leave you with, when you're thinking about safety and when you're thinking about cleanliness, a lot of people give us a hard time, Jake and me. And they're like, "Yeah, well, I like to warn them 5,000 times, and I like to spend all my time during the day teaching them, and I like to, be fluffy, and I don't want to send anybody home, and blah, blah, blah." I would say this. I've said this before in a previous podcast, but one day we took all of the workers and we had them stand in a circle, and we said, "Everyone set your phone down in front of you." And in that course of time, probably 6, 7, 8, 10 people, in the matter of seconds, their phone started ringing. It was their wife. It was their mother. It was their daughter. It was whatever. And I said, "All right, everybody, if you think safety's a joke, I want you to imagine right now your little girl calling on that phone. And guess what? Dad or mom is not on the other end to talk to. You're calling daddy and he's not there. You're calling mommy and she's not coming home for dinner. You're calling and all of a sudden this person that was central to your life isn't there because somebody thought that it was an okay thing to be unsafe. Somebody thought that it was too strict, to send somebody home. Somebody thought that it was too mean to enforce the rules. Somebody thought that it was too much to expect that everyone wear their glasses, that everyone wear their fall protection, that everyone wear their personal protective equipment, that everyone follow the rules. Somebody's little girl doesn't have daddy come home that night and has to wonder the rest of her life what happened just because somebody didn't care enough. And I'll repeat something that I heard at a recent company meeting. If everyone doesn't feel the responsibility for the lives of every worker on site, then they don't get the philosophy. And so I would really encourage you, if you disagree with us about the zero tolerance policy, if you disagree with holding high standards, if you think it's too much to send somebody home to rethink how they're doing business, then just think about what it would be like for you to call that family and call their little girl and say, Dad or Mom's not coming home. And it'll all come into perspective. Because if we truly care about the people, if we truly care about people's money, if we truly care about their trade partners' money, if we truly care about the owner, then we will find ways to implement the things we need to implement for the project to be successful and for people to go home safely. It's on all of us. And so I'll close with a quote that we've given you before, is that the success of any organization is determined by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. And so that's really the question that Lean really comes down to. What behaviors are we tolerating on our job site, and how is it affecting our lives, the safety of our people, and our enjoyment in this precious little time that we have on this earth? Jake, do you have anything else? Nope. Guys, it's been fun. We love you. Hope you get something out of it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.